So I was watching a show the other day and something stood out to me. In the show, they used the same soundbite or like the same audio from a clip twice, and I immediately picked up on it. Honestly, I didn't know how I felt about it. I felt like a little duped or cheated. I don't know. It was maybe the sound design was lazy, but who am I to judge or even care because honestly, it doesn't matter. Either way, I don't know the science behind this stuff. And again, I'm not a scientist, I'm just a regular nerd, but it got me thinking, how does this apply to music? So today I wanted to run two tests, one focused on how much velocity matters when making music, and another focused on tonal changes. And I guess if it does matter a lot, maybe you could take it a step further and apply both to your music. Oh, and also side note, today's video is sponsored by NordVPN, but more on them later. Okay, so on to this first test. What I did was I made the world's simplest beat, and I'll play two variations of it. One has some velocity changes while the other does not. The swing is the same, the sounds are the same, just the velocity changes. Let's see what you prefer. Interesting results, right? A has the velocity changes and B was the same velocity across the entire sequence. This reminds me of how I practically live in the 16 levels mode when making music on an MPC because it feels like it naturally gives me swing when in reality I'm just changing the velocity on each drum sound as I record it in, making for a more interesting beat. Also, here's a quick tip in live. So again, in case you're curious, this one here had all the velocity changes. But if I highlight both of these and I wanted to make some quick velocity changes, I can click on either of these keys here, which are basically my drum rack drums. So let's say this short hat here. And let me make this a little bigger. You know what? Let me just go full geezer mode on you. We'll say 140. Ba-boom. So once I've selected a bunch of the drum sounds, for example, this hi-hat here, I can hold down Command and then drag this down, and this will set a randomized velocity range of basically 51 to 100 so that all these hats will now hit something within that range. So now let's go ahead and listen to these, just these hi-hats right here, and they're going to constantly be changing between these velocities. Nope, forgot to loop that whole section, my bad. Oh my god, this is so big, I don't even know what's going on anymore. This just adds to the uniqueness of a sequence, right? And helps break up the monotony of hearing the exact same sound over and over again. I mean, I dare you to find me a drummer who can hit a hi-hat or a snare with the same velocity over and over again. Go ahead, I'll wait. Kidding, I won't because you can't. It's physically impossible, technically impossible. I don't know how it is, but it's impossible. So let's move on to test number two. Actually, you know what? Before we move on to test number two, let's give a quick shout out to NordVPN, today's video sponsor, which I actually use. Now, I know this might sound super random here on the studio, but I know you have a device that connects to the internet. You cannot lie to me on that one. So why not connect using a VPN? What's a VPN, you might ask? TLDR, it's a way for your device to connect to the internet through a couple different servers that disguise or help hide your computer from companies trying to track you, build models based on you, access your habits or routines, and then sell you stuff on the back end of your behavior. Kind of sketchy, right? And I know you're not doing anything illegal, but I'm a big advocate of personal privacy online as well as transparency on where our data goes. And I'm trying my best to not give in to big data companies. So this is one way I can feel as if I'm doing something to fight back. Says this from YouTube. But in all seriousness, NordVPN is an incredible, simple, and easy way for you to finally get back some of your privacy while online. It's super easy to use with a one-click option to connect, or you can be like me and enable auto connect so you never have to worry about it. I've been using NordVPN since 2019 and I absolutely love it. I have it on all my devices, even on my iPad and phone. Plus, NordVPN has over 5,100 servers in 60 different countries. So on the go, I am good to go. So if you've ever been curious about NordVPN, go to nordvpn.com/RickyTinez to get an exclusive NordVPN deal. It's risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. All right, on to the second test. This one was fun. The setup here is to make the sounds a little different from each other. So what I did was ignored velocity. They all have the same velocity. Let's imagine that our drummer has the buffest arms and is just able to smack a drum at max velocity every time, but the sound changes a bit. So to do this, I used, this is way too massive. Here, to do this, I used a ton of LFOs, basically going to a bunch of different parameters for each sound, changing different parameters like decay, attack, pitch, and I think maybe a filter in there somewhere. I'll leave that up to you, but it's pretty simple, right? LFO goes to what and by how much. Okay, let's hear these results. Same as before. One has it, one doesn't. Pretty interesting, right? This one was a little harder to hear. And again, this is more about the subtle nuances of playing something when someone is attempting to make the same sound happen twice, not so overpowering and distracting. So the results are in, and A was no changes, and B was a ton of little changes. Again, I think there is something to this idea that we recognize a sound that has been played twice or that we've heard before, whether consciously noticing it or not. It affects us, I think. I mean, I'd like to think. What do you think? Let me know down below. And of course, this isn't the end-all be-all, and music is still music whether it incorporates some of these ideas or not. But it's up to us to take it where we want to, right? Do we put in the time and the effort to add these things? And I guess if we do, what is the result? Is it worth it? Does it sound better? Does it even matter? I mean, these are questions only you can answer. But remember, anything that you're making and creating right now is waiting to be heard by others. So don't fret the small stuff unless you really care about them. I appreciate you coming by. And until next week, my friend, share the love, share the knowledge. Knowledge is power. Peace. Where are we at? Whack. I'm out of here.